Assalamualaikum. I'm Aida from Group 6. Let's talk about Cimb. Cimb Group is a leading focused Asian bank and one of the region's foremost corporate advisors. It is also a world leader in Islamic finance. The group is headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It offers consumer banking, commercial banking, investment banking, Islamic banking and asset management in products and services. It is the fifth largest banking group by assets in Asia, and as at the end of December 2022, it had around 30,000 staff and 20 million customers. Cimb Group has two types of operating segment, which consists of business segment and geographical segment. Business segment is a unit of an entity that is engaged in providing products or services. The core business that will run by Cimb Group includes consumer banking, commercial banking, wholesale banking, and DIB digital assets and group funding. While geographical segment is a unit of an entity engaged in providing products or services within a particular economic environment. Cimb Group has separated their geographical segment based on location and region, which consists of Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Singapore, United Kingdom, Hong Kong, China, and other countries. The directors are responsible for ensuring that the annual audited financial statements of the group and of the company are drawn up in accordance with the Malaysian Financial Reporting Standards, International Financial Reporting Standards, the requirement of the Companies Act 2016, Bank Negara Malaysia's guideline, and listing requirements of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad. The directors are also responsible for ensuring that the annual audited financial statements of the group and the company are prepared with reasonable accuracy from the accounting records of the group and of the company, so as to give a true and fair view of the financial position of the group and of the company, and their financial performance and cash flows for the financial year then ended. Among them are Datuk Muhammad Nasir Ahmad and Datuk Abdul Rahman Ahmad.
Next, we move to the reproduce a segmental report. To reproduce a segmental report, we must calculate the 10% threshold test and determine the 75% rule after we calculate the 10% threshold test. Then, we can construct the new segmental report. Firstly, we must calculate the 10% threshold test. 10% threshold test is very important in determining the reportable and non-reportable segment. There are three bases to calculate the 10% threshold test. First one is a revenue basis, second one is profit or loss basis, and the third one is asset basis. Revenue basis means it's reported revenue from sales to external customer, and inter-segment sales is 10% or more of the combined revenues, internal and external, over total revenue of all operating segments. Profit or loss basis mean the absolute amount of the segment's report profit or loss is 10% or more of the greater of in the amount exceeded amount, the combined reported profit of all segments reporting profit, or the combined loss of all segments reporting losses. Lastly, the asset basis. The asset basis is the segment asset are 10% or more of the total assets of all operating segments. Information for operating segment that do not meet the 10% threshold requirements and are not classified as reportable segment is to be combined and disclosed under all other segments category. For an operating segment that does not meet any of the quantitative threshold, management may designate the segment to be a reportable segment if it believes that the information about the segment will be useful to users of the financial statements. IMB Bank Berhad will use a revenue basis to calculate the 10% threshold test. Since we use the revenue basis, so we must total the reported external and internal revenue over total revenue of all operating segments. There are 5 operating segments in Cimb Bank Berhad. So we test each of the segment whether it more or less than 10%. After we calculate the total reported external and internal revenue over total revenue of all operating segments, it resulted of 4 reportable and 1 non-reportable segments. The 4 reportable segments are consumer banking, commercial banking, wholesale banking, and Islamic banking, while the non-reportable segment is Cimb digital asset and group funding. After we determining the reportable segments, 75% test must be calculated. The total external revenue attributable for reportable segment dividing by total revenue for all operating segment. It must at least 75% of total revenue. If the 75% threshold is not met, additional reportable segment should be identified even if they do not meet the 10% threshold, until at least 75% of the total entities' external revenue is included in its reportable segments. Since we already identified the reportable segments and non-reportable segment, so now we can calculate the 75% rule, whereas we total up the external revenue from reportable segment over the total revenue of all operating segments. The result of 75% test of Cimb Bank Berhad is 78.08%. So the conclusion is the chosen reportable segment after considering 10% threshold test does fulfill the 75% rule, which result to 78.08% of total external revenue of the entity. Therefore, there is no need to identify additional reportable segments. So the new segmental report of the Cimb Bank Berhad is being constructed. The 4 reportable operating segment consists of consumer banking, commercial banking, wholesale banking, and Islamic banking, whereas Cimb digital asset and group funding are being disclosed under the other reportable operating segments.
By using this operating segment, shareholders are able to gain the overview of the firm operation. Shareholders will be aware about the current situation of the company, since the segment report show the details and all the perspective. They are taken into consideration by the management taking their decision. Next, shareholders are able to get information about the company business. The segment report help investor and the shareholder know about the business process that we operate by the company and help them to evaluate the company performance. The third one is the investor are exposed with the future plan of the company. The investor also be exposed with the future plan of the net cash flow gained by the company in order to make a clear decision about the investment. Last but not least, it is also will be highlight risks that management think are important and get the result of the interim report. They are also have disadvantage of segment reporting, which are the company should be prepared the change of losses. It is because they must be prepared for any time will be happen in future, such as their decision and action taken will be based on the short-term period. The second one is there are a possibility that the data would be manipulated. It is because the leader has a greater control over the organization software. For example, the manager will simply manipulate the company to attract more investors and persuade them to invest in the company. The last one is misleading information to investor and external user. Information by investment by investor and creditor are made in the company but not in the individual segment. Therefore, investors require information for the company for making a proper decision. Next, I will present about the basis of preparation. The financial statement of the group and the company have been prepared in accordance with the Malaysian Financial Reporting Standard (MFRS), International Financial Reporting Standard, and the requirement of the Company Act 2016 in Malaysia. The company should be read in conjunction with the audited financial statement for the year ended 2022. The financial statement have been prepared under the historical cost convention as modified by the revaluation of financial asset at fair value through profit or loss. The financial statement incorporate this activity relating to Islamic banking which have been undertaken by the company. Islam banking refer generally to the acceptance of deposit, granting of financing and dealing in Islamic security under the Sharia principle. The preparation of financial statement in conformity with MFRS require the use of certain critical accounting estimate and assumption that affect the report amount of asset and liability and disclosure of contingent asset and liability at the date of the financial statement and the report amount in income and expenses during the report period. It is also required the director to exercise their judgment in the process of applying the group and the company accounting policy. Although this estimate and judgment are based on the director based knowledge of current asset, current event and action, actual result may differ from this estimate.
Today, I want to present a part of accounting policy used in interim report. First, accounting policy UMFRS 16 needs. Cimb Berhad recognize the right of issue and list liability on the statement of financial position. Next, the role will be measured at the cost subsequent to the initial measurement. The liability will be reduced for payments made and increased for profit expenses. Second is MFRS 116 Property Plan and Equipment. Cimb Berhad adopted straight line basis that over its estimate useful life. The recognition of PPE when it is probable that future economic benefit associated with the asset will flow the entity and the cost or value of the asset can be measured reliably. Lastly, measure at is a cost model. The next part is a type of interim report. The company interim report are called as a financial statement prepared in quarterly report. Use the attachment in the statement interim report.
We present about the period for the current and comparative of each segment about the company. Based on the slide, we choose a third quarter to be presented for interim reporting of the CAM. For the statement of financial position, the reporting period of the current interim report are 9 months, start from the 1st January 2022 to 30th December 2022. While the comparative of preceding year is start from the 1st January 2021 to 31st December 2021. Next, for the statement of profit or loss and comprehensive income, the current interim report is 3 months, start from the 1st July 2022 to 30 September 2022, while the cumulative report is start from the 1st January 2022 to 30 September 2022. And the comparative of preceding year is start from the 1st January 2021 to 31st December 2021. Next, the statement of cash flow is a 9-month, start from 1st January 2022 to 30 September 2022, while the comparative of preceding year is 1 year, start from the 1st January 2021 to 31st December 2021. Lastly, the statement of change in equity, the reporting period of the current interim report is 9 months, start from the 1st January 2022 to 30 September 2022, while the comparative of preceding year is start from 1st January 2021 to 31st December 2021. Next, we go to the first adjustment made by the CIMB. The first adjustment is about the disposal of one of its motor vehicles. On the 1st July 2022, one of its motor vehicle was disposed with the cost of 59,701 ringgit that they purchased on 1st January 2019. The useful life of the motor vehicles is 5 years and the annual depreciation is 10,000. As you can see from the slide, the before and after adjustment, there's a difference because of the disposed activity of the motor vehicles. To determine accumulated depreciation, we need to identify from the 1st January 2019 to 1st July 2022. So from that period, there is a 4 years, since that the 10,000 will be multiplied by 4 years and the cost of the motor vehicle will be deducted with accumulated depreciation. And the carrying value of the motor vehicles will be added on the statement of financial positions, while the accumulated depreciations will be expensed on statement of profit or loss. Next, we move to the second adjustment on intangible asset. The company was acquired a computer software at a cost of 80,000. The company also determined that the useful life of the computer software is a 5 year and they are using a straight line method for the amortization. As you can see on the slide, the before adjustment of the statement of financial positions on the 31st December 2021 was the 1,857,470 ringgit, while on the 31st December 2022, the amount of intangible asset is 1,898,512 ringgit. While the after adjustment for the current interim report on 30 September 2022, for the total of intangible asset is 1,921,470 ringgit, and the 31st December 2022, the amount of the intangible asset is 1,898,512 ringgit. To determine the annual amortization, the cost of the computer software 18,000 ringgit will be divided with the useful life of the computer software 5 years, and the amounts of that will be deducted with the As you can see, before and after adjustment of the intangible asset, there is a difference on the current interim report, which they acquire computer software amounted at 80,000. So from that, to determine the amortizations, 80,000 will be divided to the 5 years of the computer software useful life, and the amount of annual amortization will be deducted with computer software at cost of 18,000. So the carrying value of the 64,000 will be capitalized on statement of financial positions, while the annual amortization will be expense of statement of profit or loss. That's all for today. Thank you for watching this video.